Man in America podcast, hosted by OG Foxy. Welcome back to Black Men in America podcast. I'm your host, OG Foxy. In this episode, we dive deep into Kamala Harris's powerful speeches, where she dismantles Donald Trump and warns of the real dangers he poses to America. So let's get started. Kamala at the UAW rally.
Because make no mistake, Donald Trump is no friend to labor. He is no friend to labor, and we've got to listen to what he says. Know that, you know that famous saying, listen when people tell you who they are. In fact, can we roll the clip? Let's see. There we go.
I used to hate to pay overtime. When I was in the private sectors, they say, oh, I don't want over. You know, I shouldn't tell you this. I'd go out and get other people and let them work regular time. But they build everything in Germany, and then they assemble it here. They get away with murder because they say, oh, yes, we're building cars. They don't build cars. They take them out of a box and they assemble them. We could have our child do it. They go on strike and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone. The United Auto Workers ought to be ashamed for allowing this to happen. And the leader of the United Auto Workers should be fired immediately.
Right. So, of course, that last bit, he was talking about Sean Fain, who represents nearly 1 million active and retired auto workers. Okay, so that's about 1 million auto workers, active and retired. Donald Trump, listen to his words. He's saying that auto workers are essentially engaged in child's play, that children could do it. Listen to what he says. I'm telling you, he's got his club. And I'm going to tell you, union workers are not part of his club. Let's be clear about that. No matter what he does at his rallies, let's be clear about that. Right? He thinks that the value of your work is essentially meaningless. That's what he's saying, to compare it to child's work. When we hear, no, the work you do is complex. You do it with great care. You work hard. You are highly skilled. You are highly trained. And the best auto workers in the world is who you are.
Kamala dismantled Donald Trump. This 3-minute speech by Kamala Harris.
Yesterday, we learned that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired 4-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally, one that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans the enemy from within, and even said that he would use the United States military to go after American citizens. And let's be clear about who he considers to be the enemy from within. Anyone who refuses to bend a knee or dares to criticize him would qualify, in his mind, as the enemy within, like judges, like journalists, like nonpartisan election officials. It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews, and hundreds of thousands of Americans. All of this is further evidence for the American people of who Donald Trump really is. This is a window into who Donald Trump really is. From the people who know him best, from the people who worked with him side by side in the Oval Office and in the Situation Room. And it is clear from John Kelly's words that Donald Trump is someone who, I quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, who in fact vowed to be a dictator on day one and vowed to use the military as his personal militia to carry out his personal and political vendettas. Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable. And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not be there to be the guardrails against his propensities and his actions. Those who once tried to stop him from pursuing his worst impulses would no longer be there, and no longer be there to rein him in. So the bottom line is this. We know what Donald Trump wants. He wants unchecked power. The question in 13 days will be, what do the American people want? Thank you.
Donald Trump is more dangerous than Hitler. Kamala Harris said, I don't think we should be making concessions about your own body.
So is a question of pragmatism then, what concessions would be on the table? Religious exemptions, for example, is that something that you would consider?
I don't think we should be making concessions when we're talking about a fundamental freedom to make decisions about your own body.
To Republicans like, for example, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, who would back something like this on a Democratic agenda if, in fact, Republicans control Congress, would you offer them an olive branch, or is that off the table? Is that not an option for you?
I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals because we can go on with a variety of scenarios. Let's start with the fundamental fact. A basic freedom has been taken from the women of America. The freedom to make decisions about their own body. And that cannot be negotiable.
Women should have control over their own bodies. Vice President Harris said Trump said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had.
Now, let's listen. Yesterday we learned that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired four-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally, one that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans the enemy from within, and even said that he would use the United States military to go after American citizens. And let's be clear about who he considers to be the enemy.
Trump is a wannabe Hitler. Kamala was asked, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
You've quoted General Milley calling Donald Trump a fascist. You yourself have not used that word to describe him. Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I also believe that the people who know him best on this subject should be trusted. Again, look at their careers. These are not people, with the exception, I think, of only Mike Pence. These were not politicians. These are career people who have served in the highest roles in national security, who have served as generals in our military, who are highly respected. Talking about the person who would be commander-in-chief.
I am in total agreement with Kamala Harris. Harris highlights John Kelly's 9/11 call to the American people.
The audience in just a second. I want to start by asking you, though, for weeks you have been calling Donald Trump unstable, unhinged. You call him dangerous. You quoted General Milley recently, who called him a fascist. Today, you quoted General Kelly, who said that Trump repeatedly praised Hitler. Yeah. But there are tens of millions of Americans right now who have heard all those things, and they don't buy it, or even if they do, they're still going to vote for Donald Trump. He's arguably more popular now than ever. You have 13 days to go. What do you say to those voters to convince them? Because some of them are in this room.
Sure, and I thank you all for taking the time to be here. And you could be doing a number of other things with your time. So this really is proof that we love our country. People are engaged, Anderson, and really want to talk about the issues. And so the issue that you raise, yes, I do believe that Donald Trump is unstable, increasingly unstable, and unfit to serve. And I don't necessarily think that everyone has heard what you and I have heard repeatedly, which is the people who know Donald Trump best, the people who worked with him in the White House, in the Situation Room, in the Oval Office, all Republicans, by the way, who served in his administration, his former chief of staff, his national security advisor, former secretaries of defense, and his vice president have all called him unfit and dangerous. They have said explicitly he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. They have said he should never again serve as president of the United States. We know that is why Mike Pence is not running with him again, why the job was empty. And then today we learned that John Kelly, a 4-star Marine general, who was his longest serving chief of staff, gave an interview recently in the last 2 weeks of this election, talking about how dangerous Donald Trump is. And I think one has to think about, why would someone who served with him, who was not political, a 4-star Marine general, why is he telling the American people now? And frankly, I think of it as he's just putting out a 911 call to the American people. Understand what could happen if Donald Trump were back in the White House. And this time, we must take very seriously those folks who knew him best and who were career people are not going to be there to hold him back.
I believe Kelly over Trump. Harris said Donald Trump should be here tonight to talk with the American people and answer their questions.
Mentioned, by the way, again, Donald Trump should be here tonight to talk with you and answer your questions. He's not. He refused to come. But understand that part of his plan is to put in place a national sales tax of at least 20% on everyday goods and necessities. And that, by economist estimates, independent economists, would cost you as the American consumer and taxpayer an additional $4,000 a year.
After the debate, Trump can't handle being in the same room as Harris. Vice President Harris said Trump would have an enemies list.
Understand that, again, in 13 days, the American people will decide who is the next president of the United States. In 13 days, you will decide who is sitting in the Oval Office on January 20th. And on one hand, you have in Donald Trump someone who has increasingly proved himself to be unstable, and who, as we have established and the people close to him have established, he is unfit to serve. Somebody who, on January 20th, you can be sure, will spend full time, like we know, and we've seen the image mentally of him sitting in the dining room off of the Oval Office, watching for hours as people violently attack the Capitol. You can be sure, because he has said he would weaponize the Department of Justice to go after his political enemies, that you can look at a Donald Trump in the White House after January 20th, sitting in that Oval Office, plotting his revenge. He has talked about the enemies within. We haven't even raised that subject, Anderson. The enemies within. He's talking about the American people. He's talking about journalists, judges, nonpartisan election officials. He has talked about, as John Kelly has talked about, can he send the military after peaceful protesters? And he's going to sit there unstable, unhinged, plotting his revenge, plotting his retribution, creating an enemies list. I'm going to tell you, my list will be a list of how I address and continue to address the issues that you all are raising this afternoon and evening. It will be a to-do list about how we can impact the American people and lift up the American people and address some of the challenges that we continue to face.
Trump wants revenge because he got caught being dirty. Mark Cuban said his policies make no sense.
I get all that right. So here's kind of the angle I was looking at tariffs.
Yeah.
I've known Donald Trump 25 years. He used to be okay on trade policy, but over the last 25 years, he's just lost it.
I don't think he pays attention to the details, and you can't be president of the United States
unless you pay attention to the details.
Yeah, that's fine if he wants to, just give speeches in random places for random reasons. But to talk about such significant policy like tariffs, much less foreign policy, he is applying a machete when a scalpel is what's necessary.
It makes no sense to me whatsoever. To me, I think Donald Trump is the Grinch that stole Christmas. This time next year, we're going to be thinking about Christmas presents for all of our kids. And if he puts a 60% tariff on everything from China, those prices are going up. And now all of a sudden, your vision of everything you wanted to have for your kids at Christmas is gone. Donald Trump just crushed it. And it's not just crushing people's Christmases. Those small companies that support communities, now all of a sudden, not only did their costs go up 60%, but their businesses were just shot.
Right.
He is going to put who knows how many small businesses out of business.
Goldman Sachs, Moody's, Wall Street Journal most recently, 16 Nobel laureates have all examined our policies. Mine, as has been reviewed, will strengthen the economy. His will weaken it. It will incite inflation and invite a recession by the middle of next year, Mark.
I believe Mark Cuban, who has never filed for bankruptcy, over Donald Trump, who has filed on multiple occasions. Vice President Harris, a message to young voters.
And so I'd like to speak in particular to all the young leaders that I see here this evening. I see you. I see you. I see you. And to you I say, you all have grabbed the baton. I've seen what you do, and I see how you are doing it, because you are rightly impatient for change. You, who have only known the climate crisis, are leading the charge to protect our planet and our future. You, young leaders who grew up with active shooter drills, are fighting to keep our schools safe. You, who know now fewer rights than your mothers and grandmothers, are standing up for reproductive freedom. And I know it is because for you, I say to our young leaders, this is not theoretical. This is not political. This is your lived experience. And what I love about you is you are not waiting for other people to figure this out. So I see you and I see your power, and I know so many of you are voting for the first time and know that our future is so good with you all at the helm. And I'm so proud of you. Can we hear it for our young leaders and first-time voters?
Young voters have no future under Donald Trump and Project 2025. Trump thinks it should be illegal to air ads pointing out his connection to Project 2025.
But the level of lying is just incredible. I mean, to a point where I can't even imagine it's legal. I was asking some of these lawyers, some of the top guys, I said, can they absolutely, 2 weeks before an election, go out and do an ad where every one of your policies are the exact opposite? Isn't that election interference, and isn't that fraud? And isn't there a court that can do something about that?
Trump doesn't want Americans knowing the truth about him. Trump suggests he wants total unchecked power.
60 Minutes and CBS. Now think of it. They asked her a question on 60 Minutes, which is news. These companies have to get licensed And in the licensing says they have to be honest. They gave her a question. She gave an answer that was from a loony bin.
Ratings and reviews can help the Black Man in America podcast reach a wider audience, and donations will improve the quality of our content. To donate, just click on the support the show link. Thank you. Under Project 2025, Trump would have unchecked power. Trump said, "We will root out the radical left thugs that live like vermin."
We pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country.
Now, a murderer, I believe this, it's in their genes. And we got a lot of bad genes in our country right now.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world. They're ruining our country. And it's true. They're destroying the blood of our country. That's what they're doing. They're destroying our country. They don't like it when I said that. And I never read Mein Kampf. They said, oh, Hitler said that in a much different way.
This is more of Trump's Hitler talk. Trump said it's very dangerous for Kamala Harris voters.
Is there anybody here that's going to vote for Lion Kamala? Please raise your hand. Please raise your hand. Actually, I should say don't raise your hand. It would be very dangerous. We don't want to see anybody get hurt. Please don't raise your hand.
Now Trump is calling for voter intimidation. Trump and how he failed Black America.
Trump devastated Black businesses.
Efforts to save small business from the impacts of the pandemic have largely missed Black-owned companies.
When I applied for the PPP, we didn't get any help.
The big companies, they didn't have to wait. They got their money. People like me were still waiting.
My plan is give startup small businesses a $50,000 tax deduction. Right now it's $5,000. Nobody can start a small business with $5,000. So that's my plan.
Paid for by Black Voters Matter Action Act, not authorized by any candidate or candidates.
Trump and Project 2025 will be even worse for Black people. Donald Trump speaking to the Black Conservative Federation.
Would you rather have the black president or the white president who got $1.7 billion off the price? I think they want the white guy right now.
It's shameful that there is a such thing as a Black Conservative Federation. Trump calls Kamala Harris lazy as hell and then threw in a Pocahontas.
Everything, and I was going to hit her really hard on the trail today, but now I don't have to because she's off. She's off. No, I can't get over it. Who the hell takes off? We have 14 days left, and she'll take a couple of more days off too. You know why? She's lazy as hell, and she's got that reputation. She's a radical left lunatic. She's further left than Bernie Sanders or Pocahontas. Now, Pocahontas... Because I think, is Pocahontas further left than Bernie? Just about, right? It's close. It's close. Who the hell cares, right? Rick says, I don't know. But they're out there. But she's furthest left. We can't have a person.
Trump is racist as hell. A racist bigot running for president.
Americans have watched their communities destroyed by this sudden, suffocating inundation of illegal aliens. I said, if you let them in, it's going to be hell. They are vicious, violent criminals. These are stone cold killers. They'll walk into your kitchen, they'll cut your throat. These are people at the highest level of killing. They'd cut your throat, and they won't even think about it the next morning. These people are roaming our country. They could go into a restaurant. They could do whatever they want. And they will kill you because they are wired that way. These people are animals. Now they'll say, oh, that's a terrible thing for him to say. No. These people are animals.
It's in their genes. And we got a lot of bad genes in our country right now.
They came in from the Congo. They come in from South America. They come in from Asia. They come in from all over the world. These are hardened, horrible criminals, and we have to get them the hell out of our country because they're ruining the fabric of our country. We're just destroying the fabric of life in our country. What they're doing to the fabric, to the guts of our country, it's not even believable. And you see what's going on. They're taking over towns and cities. They want to flood up Pennsylvania in particular, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and the entire Midwest with thousands of migrants from the most dangerous countries on earth, destroying the character of small towns and leaving local communities in anguish and in despair. Your state will be a dumping ground for people that have committed murder, violent crimes, drugs. Medicare and Social Security will buckle and collapse because these people are going onto your Social Security rolls, if you can believe it. They can't speak English. They came here illegally, and they're destroying Social Security. And they're invading our towns. It's an invasion. What's happening in, like, Aurora in Colorado? Venezuelan gangs are taking over the real estate. They're becoming real estate developers. Venezuelan gangs have taken over entire apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado. Military-style weapons, AK-47 Supremes. They've got stuff that's unbelievable. They're young, they're tough, nasty people. On day one of my new administration, the invasion of savage criminals ends. And on that same day, the largest deportation in American history begins.
That was sickening. Let's keep America great. Here's Trump's policy.
Have you seen this ad? Donald Trump is spending millions attacking Kamala Harris on a desperate lie. Taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens is a Trump administration policy. He's attacking Kamala Harris for his own record, and he thinks you're too dumb to get it. He's gaslighting America because Trump is for he, him. Kamala is for us.
Trump is gaslighting his supporters. Stop panicking, people.
The race is close. The polls are razor thin. Republicans want Democrats to panic, to believe Trump can't be beaten. For everyone who remembers 2016, they're getting nervous. Well, get the hell over it. The polls are garbage. Trump is losing his mind and his campaign. Kamala Harris is winning, connecting with Americans, making the case for democracy, doing her part to help end this madness. There is no time to panic, no time to quit. It's time to fight. Vote early, organize, volunteer. Get out and show Trump you're not scared. Show him you're ready for the fight. Ignore the polls. Ignore the noise. We know what he'll do if he loses.
Fake news.
The question is, what will you do to make sure he does?
Let's close this out. Go out and vote. Attention, black men and black women.
Georgia like a virus. In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, GOP vigilantes have already challenged 16,000 voters. Vigilante groups with names like Pigpen Project are operating in Nevada, Iowa, and we tracked vigilantes in swing state Michigan, where challenges have risen by 55%. In Florida, Trump's lawyer Cleta Mitchell has already challenged 10,000 voters. In Wisconsin, 135,000 voters were challenged. We mapped the challenges and discovered they were almost all in black precincts of Milwaukee and aimed at students at the University of Wisconsin.
And if I get taken off the voter rolls, it's just not fair. So if I'm living in Wisconsin, I would love to have my vote counted.
And the biggest threat comes from True the Vote, the 2,000 Mules crew. In their test run in Georgia, they had 88 vigilante volunteers. In 2024, True the Vote has signed up 40,000 vigilantes, attacking in 43 states. By August, they'd already challenged 851,000 American voters. And in Texas, the vigilantes got violent.
He said, help me, with his hand inside his coat. Then when I tried to help him, he pulls out a gun. That is when I was told to get on the ground.
Court records show Aguirre believed Zuniga was driving his work truck around with 750,000 illegal ballots inside. When police got to the scene, they found air conditioning parts inside. No illegal ballots.
A vigilante stopped this air conditioning repair guy, said that he was a police officer. Had the guy on the ground, telling him open up the truck, had his pistol out on the guy. I mean, I can imagine how terrorized he was.
The gunman was not a lone wolf. He was one of dozens of armed vigilantes hired by an election-denying billionaire.
Was arraigned on felony charges of unlawful restraint and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon in connection with a badly botched, privately bankrolled investigation of alleged election fraud.
Voter suppression is real, black people. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you for joining for this viral discussion. Kamala Harris warnings aren't just political talking points. They're a call to action to every American. Stay informed, stay engaged, and let's continue to hold those in power accountable. Make sure to subscribe and share this episode to spread the word about the challenges our democracy faces. And may God bless us all. Black Men in America podcast and OG Foxy production. Love and peace to us all.